I'll take, yeah. So, we had finished verse number 4 and 5, in which Bhagavan sort of narrated how the universe sort of takes shape out of his two prakritis, the para and upper prakritis. And the para is about the Chetana thing, the consciousness, and apara is about the Jada Varga, the Astadha Prakriti. It sort of appears as eightfold. That is what he explained. And then in verse number 6 and 7, he said, Yetodvonini bhutani sarvani utyupadharaya aham krishnasya jagataha prabhava pralayasthatha. So please understand that this whole universe that you see, which is born out of these two prakritis of mind, two powers, I mean, these are energies, which we have explained again and again, are not separate from Brahman. The Purusha and Prakriti are kind of independent in Sankhya. In Vedanta, Bhagavan Ishvara, Lord Himself, is in fact the magician. And this magical power called Prakriti is fully under his control. What appears through the application of this magical power is what we see, this Srishti, this whole universe. And this magic has no fundamental existence of its own. The existence of the magic is dependent on what? It's dependent on the magician. And that is the Lord, the Brahman, which is without any name and form. That's how he explained. Etad yonini bhutani sarvani tupadhare aham krishnasya jagataha prabhava pralayasthatha. And we had explained that when you're using the word prabhava, is referring to the upadana karana, the material cause. When he's referring to pralayaha, he's referring to the nimitta karana. And we there's a lot of beautiful, Vedic sentences which are kind of quoted by Dhanapati, a great commentator, who re-established the primacy of Sankara Bhashya. Yatova it imane bhutani jayante yena जेन जातानि जीवन्ति यत् प्रत्य अभिसंविशन्ति tad brahma tad vijigyasasva. So this is quoted, that from where all that you see, this material forms and names, everything, from where they are born, and yena, and by which all these material forms, living and non-living, which survive, which live, yet, and there where everything also sort of get destroyed, they become vilina, they sort of lose their name and form. Well, they perish into Tad Brahma, and you understand that is Brahman. So this is one particular Shruti Pramana, or a quotation from the Shastras, to establish the fact that in fact the Nimitta, that is the efficient cause, and the Upadana Karana, both have to be traced to the Brahman, because there is nothing beyond that. And there are different, what do you call, Brahma Sutras, which are kind of quoted to also establish them. Now, what is a nimitta karana of a ghata or a pot, a zar, an earthen zar? The kulala, the potter, is the nimitta karana. So he works a lot. Does Bhagavan work like that to create the samsara? No. He just wishes. He just has one desire, or this desire is in fact attributed to him, because he doesn't have any desire of his own. And of course, Nyayikas believes that he has Nitya, Ichha, Jnana, Prayatna, all that is attributed to him. So for a Vedanti, none of these things are inherently present in him, like in case of a Nyayika, who looks at Ishvara as a creator. He's a creator wing, and they are talking about a creative reality. Srishti is real for them. They are realists. We are not. The Vedantis are not realists in that sense. So there are similarly, what he's saying is that the pot is born out of earth. A particular earthen, object, whatever you have made, is born out of earth. So earth is the upadana karana, or the material cause. The kulala, who is the guy, the agent, the artisan, he is the nimitta karana, or the efficient cause. However, here Bhagavan is not like it's imagined in Bible, that he created man in his own image out of clay. No, he didn't actually work that hard. No, nothing. He just in fractions of a second, very little time, he just imagines things to happen, and they happen. What is meant to be conveyed is whatever you see as having been created is just a perception. And this perception is true for us because we are trapped in this particular reality. Like during dream, we see a lot of things. When the dream breaks, they are not real. Similarly, when we are passing through this appears real. When, like for example, we are very afraid of examinations, and the boys now on television sets, whenever you open, what do you hear? A lot of boys saying exams should be cancelled. They're scared of examination. After 10 years, if you talk to them, they'll give another opinion. They say, no, you should hold examinations because they don't have to face it. Now, this examination is real or unreal. It depends on whether you're facing it. If you're facing it, it's real. If it's not there, you're not dealing with it, the anxieties, fears, pressure having to prepare for it, these become unreal, irrelevant for you. Similarly, the guy who's Jivanamukta, who has transcended this entrapment of samsara, where everything appears as real, that fellow is not affected by these things. That is what is hinted here. And then there is another such sentences. What is that? Yena asrutam shrutam bhavati amatam matam avijñatam vijñatam. These are some of the Upanishadic sentences, knowing which what you haven't heard can be heard, what you don't know can be known, what you haven't understood can be understood. And what is that? Like for example, if you know the nature of clay, then you can understand all artifacts made out of clay, because the common element of clay. And here, by material cause, we are actually talking about something which undergoes physical change. However, in our Vedantic understanding, this particular reality we see is not a material transformation of Brahman. Please understand this. If material transformation of Brahman has happened, when we die, there is some vikara happening in Brahman. So Brahman cannot become nirvikara. He'll undergo these kinds of changes. If we are sad, Brahman will become sad. We are happy, Brahman will become happy. How is he any different from us? He'll be as bad or as good as Ziva in a more magnified form. Therefore, we don't believe that God has materially transformed himself. What he has done, he has just desired, wished, let this be like this, and it has happened. And how does he wish? He wishes all that based on our papas and punyas, our karmas. So what does it mean? Based on our karmas, we are experiencing this life the way we do. Our karmas are kind of processed in that supercomputer, which is a niyamaka, the Ishvara, which is above. But each actually not doing anything. This is just happening to us. And this appears as real to us. That is the central message of this verse in Bhagavad Gita. That is the central message about Vedanta. And that is very important here. Okay. So by knowing this, you can know everything. And yatha somya ekena mritpindena sarve sarvam mrinmayam vijñatam syad vacharamhanam vikaro namadheyam mritika ityevam satyam. This is also another sentence from Chandogya Upanishad. And he's explaining, who is explaining? The father is explaining to the son. And the son is asking the nature of the Brahman, and father is very compassionately explaining it to him, saying what? He's saying the way, if you look at pot, glass, and jar, all kinds of material objects born out of clay, he's saying actually what is real? The clay is real. All kinds of ornaments, what's real? The gold is real. What is giving value to the ornaments? The fact that it is a golden ornament is giving it value. If it were some yellow metal, not gold, the golden necklace will not have so much of attraction for the bride who is going to get married. The daughter will not demand from you, give me a yellow necklace which is made of some kind of alloy, which is in gold. No, she would not be interested. That is what they buy from the shops, imitation stuff, right? just to show off. They have no value. They are thrown after a couple of days. So it's gold that is significant. It's the gold which is important. Similarly, now when we are talking about material clause, please understand this is very important to accept that we are not talking about material cause. Is actually something is fundamentally material called Brahman, which has taken the shape of the samsara. No, Brahman is adhisthana, the foundation on which all this is happening. Brahman is not affected. The snake has appeared on a rope. The snake has not appeared is with some date of birth, some life, some color, some venom in it. No, it doesn't have any of it. We attribute these things to actually the rope, which appears as a snake because we are sitting or standing in a darkish room where the rope is lying on the floor. We enter, we think, oh my God, there's a snake. And then we have the Bisha Buddhi that it has poison. It's very harmful. We have all these thoughts. Once we switch on the light, we see the rope, the snake is gone, the venom is gone, all fears are gone. That's what Vedanta says. The samsara that we are dealing with is born out of our ignorance. So far we are here, we'll experience it like we have studied a lot of physics and we know that the mirage that we see is not a water lake or anything, but then it looks blue to us. On a very hot summer afternoon, when you are driving your car on a highway, a few kilometers ahead of you, what do you see? You see blue surface, and you think there's a lake into which you are driving. No, you're not driving into any lake. It just appears like that. Okay, so that is what it explains, that I am the Prabhava and Pralaya. And please, when you say Prabhava, this is to be kept in mind. We believe in Vivartavada. It is a projection. The foundation of all this, that Sanamatra Padartha, that Asti Bhati Rupa, that existence, pure existence, that is what is the material cause. And what is the Nimitta Karana, or the efficient cause? It is not that like a potter, Bhagavan is working very hard on a Sunday to create all of us. No, he just wishes. What does it mean? It's just attributed to him. It's like flash of a moment. Okay, and that is how he explained in the verse. And then therefore he says, Matta parataram nanyat kinchid asti dhananjaya mai sarvamidam protam sutre manigana iva. And we had almost finished what he's saying. Therefore, please understand that there is nothing beyond me. Whatever this para and apara is there. And what is he trying to explain? He's saying that, right, if you are walking on a sea beach and it's a full night and you're walking and there's a seashell lying ahead of you on sand, and suddenly it appears like a silver coin because it dazzles. It shares that quality with silver. Chakachakya, they dazzle, they have a glittering quality. And because of that glittering quality, your mind is reminded of the silver you have seen before, and you have that silver buddhi, that this could be silver. You get excited. Thank God, I found a silver coin. When you go closer, you find, no, it's a seashell. Now, this particular thing, this silverness of the silver, which appears to you, that silverness, is there anything into it beyond that particular seashell? What is the ultimate truth there? The seashell. That's all that is there. Beyond that, there's nothing else. Similarly, in the samsara, the ultimate reality which is there is the Brahman. And beyond that, there is nothing else. Then he explains, because he had mentioned about the para and the apara prakriti, sutre manigana iva, like in a garland of flowers, what holds them together? That particular small thread, okay, with which we have knitted together all those flowers, or these gemstones, we have kind of knitted them together and we have made a beautiful pearl necklace. And what holds them together? That thread. Here again, the word thread, these are imperfect examples because there is no way we can perfectly explain what is Brahman. And therefore, we have different ways in which you use sentences and examples in order to sharpen our mind so that we are able to go closer to the truth, call that avachya, Brahman. Very difficult to know. Avang manaso gochara. And it's very difficult. So what does the Shruti Bhagavati does? Because Shruti, Vedas, is kind of compared with a mother. She sort of gives birth to our moksha, our liberation. So what does it mean? He's saying that don't get confused this with anything, as if that it's a karya jata. Whatever is manifest, whatever appears as real, how do you explain the way? Kanake kundaladivat iti tu yogyo dristantah. So Madhusudana Saraswati is saying the way, if you pick up any golden ornament, what is spread across these ornaments? It's gold. Gold is a common denominator in all golden ornaments. Isn't that true? Similarly, if you pick up anything in this universe, they are held together by one fundamental presence, and that is that Brahman, that is the Adhara, that is the Adhisthana, the substratum, the foundation, without which these dreams will not make any sense. The dreams of a person who is sleeping cannot happen if you don't have a human body sleeping with the head on a vacation. His intelligence is on a vacation. He's sleeping. And when he goes to sleep, then dream happens in his mind and he's not aware of himself. Now, he's doing a lot of things in that dream. But you require a person who is sleeping because you require that human system for enabling that particular drama to take place called dream. Similarly, you need that fundamental existence or you need that foundation called Brahman for this whole game to happen. The game, the dream, which we call our samsara. Okay. Now somebody will explain, okay, give me some example. Please explain how does that happen? And he's not going to discourage you. So Bhagavan sort of takes you to the next verse, verse number 8 and 9. So in 8, what does he say? So in verse, Shankaracharya sort of gives us very short introduction to the verse number 8 and 9. Kena kena dharmane visiste tvai sarvamidam protam. Arjuna might have a question. Oh, really? So everything is onishuta in you, kind of stitched together in you, and they are part of you. They are superimposed in you. Now tell me, with what dharma, by what nature, in what manner are they stitched in you? That all of them are kind of superimposed in you. Explain that to me. And Bhagavan says, Uchyate. So the verse number 8 and 9 are kind of extension. If you look at these are very logically connected verses. 4 and 5, Bhagavan is talking about how the creation seems to have happened with the help of his magical powers, para and apara prakriti. Then 6, and that is 4 and 5. 6 and 7, it talks about himself. What is he? What is the ultimate reality? Then in 8 and 9, he's explaining how the Jagat and Ishvara, what is the connectivity? How does that happen? How we say that the Jagat, the Upadana Karana is Ishvara. What does that mean? The material cause is not as if clay has become a czar or a doll or a lamb. No, it has not materially transformed itself. This is a projection. And Brahman is kind of everywhere in the nature of being a subtle presence, which you cannot touch, right? It's there. It's there and you have to feel it. And he's explaining it. So it's a beautiful verse. So it is the Saravastu, it is the essence of everything that you see around you. That is Brahman, that is Ishvara, Bhagavan is saying. Rasoham apsu kaunteya prabhasmi sasi suryayoh pranavah sarva vedesu shabdah swe sabdah khe paurusam rishu. And very powerful again. Apsu is apah, water. Okay. And in water, I am the rasa. What is rasa? The taste. Okay. And that madhura rasa, the sweet taste, which is there in water. It might be sour if you mix some lemon in it. You put some chili powder, it's very bitter, isn't it? Or you mix something else, it will give you different tastes depending on what kind of other things you mix with it. By nature, the taste of water is very sweet. Sweet in what sense? It's free from any kind of impurities. Good water tastes very well. I'm not talking about chlorinated water, hard water, this or that. I'm talking about pure Himalayan water. It's very tasty. It's like nectar. And I'm that taste. What is he trying to say? And he will explain, Shankaracharya. He's the Tanamatra. We have discussed that, right? Ashtadha Prakriti, the five Tanamatras, and Manabuddhi Ahankara. That's what he had mentioned. So these Tanamatras, out of which the Sukshma elements, out of which these Panchabhutas have manifest. So I am that Karana Rupa, I am that causal source of water. So that Rasa is the Tanamatra out of which water manifests. As per Sankhya and also in Vedanta. Raso aham apshukonteya prabha asmi means I am prabha. What is that prabha? That luminosity. I am the luminosity of what? Or rupa, prabha. Sasi Surya Yoga of Sasi and Surya, moon or sun, both have. How do you know that there is sun and moon? Of course, you feel some heat, but if I take you into the engine room in a factory, I close your eyes. That's also a very hot place. That doesn't mean there is a sun. Even at night, that would be hot, but there is no sun. How do you know there is a sun? Because you see it. It has rupa. That is the prabhati. That rupa tanmatra. That is the causal form of the external manifestation of fire. Everything that you see, Sasi Surya Yoga. And then Pranavaha Sarva Vedeshu. So he leaves out other thing that you have to imagine. Okay, he's just taken water and fire. So he has kind of, that means if you're talking about Prithvi, he's Gandha. And if you're taking water, then he's Sparsha. And then he mentions Pranavaha Sarva Vedeshu. I am the Omkara. Pranava is Omkara. And Omkara as manifested is the all Vedas, is the essence. This one sentence, one word, if you have to express all of Vedic wisdom, what we say, Om. That captures all of Vedic wisdom. I am that Pranava. That means I am the source point of all this whole body of Vedic literature, all the wisdom that is there. I am the source of it. And then what? Savdaha. That's Savda Tanmatra. So Gandha, Rupa, Sparsha, and Gandha, Rupa, Sparsha, and then you have Shavada, right? And you have that Sabda is Kha, Kha is Akasa, K. And then in case of human beings, Paurusham, Nrisu, amongst all the men, I am manhood. That means what is that dharma which defines a person as a person? Humanhood. I am that humanhood. Paurusham here will not become only for men. These are upalakshanas. This includes women as well as people who are called the third gender, who are kind of transgenders or whatever words you want to use. He is that humanhood in all humans. You can also include all the animals there. I have no problem. Okay. Now let's make sense of how he explains Shankaracharya, and then we'll go into Madhusudana commentary. Rasa iti, rasa aham, apam, yah saraha. So I am that rasa, I am that taste of water, which is saraha, which is the essence. Sa rasaha, tasmin, rasa bhute mai apaha prota ityarthaha. So if you look at a glass of water, okay, or I give you a glass of mango juice, the taste of the mango juice, if that is the essential quality of that glass of mango juice, you pick up any corner of that mango juice, that corner, that location in the glass of mango juice is kind of what? Vyapta, is a manifestation, is an expression of that mango juiceness. the rasha, the taste, that taste will be present everywhere, isn't it? Can you have a part of the mango juice where the taste of the mango juice is absent? You will not call it mango juice then. Similarly, in water, the taste of water, that is the commonality. In whatever corner you free to drink the water in a glass or a pot, that taste is common to all of it. That is the connection when he said Sutre Manigana Iva. He had mentioned that in verse number 7, and he's now come to elaborate and explain it in this verse. What does that mean? He's saying that means this is the connectivity, that it is Vyapta and Vyapaka. I am the one with which it's all pervaded. Okay? Like water is pervaded by the rasa, and fire is pervaded by Rupa, Prabha. Similarly, everything that you see is pervaded by my presence. Okay, that's what he says. And then Evang Sarvatra and everything else, all the Panchabhutas you can take. Yatha aham apsu rasa evam prabha asmi sasi suryayoha. The way I am rasa in water, I am also that prakasha swarupa, that luminosity, that rupa, tanamatra, in case of sun and moon, which are visible. Pranavaha Omkaraha, and I am the Omkara, Sarva Vedeshu, in all the four Vedasu, Tasmin Pranava Bhute. And in those Vedas, they are all manifestations of the Pranava, expansion of the Pranava. Mai Sarve Vedaha Protaha. How are the Vedas connected with me? Are Vyapta by my presence through Omkara. I am the Omkara with which every verse, every chapter of the Vedas begin. Om, it will always start with a Bhadram Karnedi Sunyama Deva. And or Punnamadha Om, Punnamadha, wherever there is a Santi mantra in the beginning of any adhyaya of the Vedas or Upanishads, and then the Santi mantras are starting with Om and ending with Om. So I am that common element in all of them. Okay? Vedaha Protaha Anushita Eva. Tatha cha kha akase. So khe akase, kha means akasha. In akase savdaha. Sarabhutaha tasmini mai kham protam. So, this is something interesting, which is slight deviation from what we have studied in the physics. Okay? That sound cannot actually travel through empty space. It has to travel through some medium. But our physicists, the early physicists, they thought that sound, the domain in which sound lives is actually the sky, the space. They thought that sound can travel through space. So they couldn't make that subtle difference between space with medium and without medium. But then, even in space, sound is not visible. Think about it. That is also electromagnetic radiation. Light is also electromagnetic radiation. Now, so you have satellites in space, and the sound waves are going, and they sort of get converted, and they go to the satellites, they get reflected. So somebody might say, actually, the sound waves are not sort of audible in space. But do they travel or not? I mean, you can make interpretation. I mean, it's open to interpretation because the waves go and they reflect right from the satellites which are in space. So whether they travel or not, that's a contentious issue. But we know it travels through some medium, but waves can travel through space. The light waves are coming in. Whether sound waves, they are transverse waves, they can go or not. Open to question, but these people believe that sound waves are actually there in space. And therefore, you cannot imagine about space anywhere, which is actually a manifestation of that tanmatra, sabda tanmatra. That is the causal form of this space. So that wave, just beautifully, just look at it. So he's basically saying that energy form out of which the space has manifested. So wherever you go, that energy form will be found to be present. Okay, that energy form is present. And then what he says, he goes further. Tatha cha paurusham, purushasya bhava. What is paurusham? Purushasya bhava. The nature, the quality,
that particular essence which qualifies a living being as a human being, that humanhood is me. That means what? Without my grace, a human like living being shall cease to be human. End of the day, it's the grace of the divine which manifests in him as humanhood. There's a beautiful thing to imagine. Just look at it. That even our humanhood is kind of soars to the divine presence of the Lord. We are kind of sort of defecating, isn't it? We are, sort of filling this body with impurities. But truth of the matter is that this is not different from the divine, because the divinity is pervading this physical being that we call our human body, our human self. This is pervaded by that human presence, that divine presence of the Lord. So, because that Purusha is essentially coming out of the Lord, He is the Purusha, He is the human who, the human essence. Jataha pung buddhi nrushu. That thought that you have, that I am a human being, that thought itself can be traced to the grace of the God, if I can put it in those words. Tasmin mai purushaha protaha, and therefore all human beings are kind of stitched and they're pervaded by me. Okay, this is how he says, and just look at the Madhusudan Saraswati, how he will make sense of it. So, rasaha punya madhura rasatana matraha. Okay, so he's using the word punya. You know why punya? It doesn't mean that it's sacred, not in that sense. Punya is being used by Madhusudana Saraswati as something which is kind of virgin, which is kind of uncontaminated, unaffected, pure in that sense. So rasaha punyo madhuraha tanamatra rupaha sarvasam apam sharaha karanabhuta yo apsu sarvaswanugataha so aham he kaunteya. So that rasa, that taste, that in pure taste, think about pure taste. Don't think about mango juice or a chocolate thing or puree, tomato puree or anything. Don't think about soda or anything. That pure taste which we associate with water, that is the causal principle behind water, out of which water has manifested. So he's saying Madhura Tanamatra Rupaha Sarvasam Apam Saraha, and that is the essence of all water, Karana Bhuta, and that is the causal thing, causal principle. Yo Apsu Sarvashu Anugataha. And you cannot find water anywhere without the presence of taste. So it's Anugata. It's always kind of following. It's ever present, right? All pervading. So aham, I am that. Hey Kaunteya, oh my friend, please understand. There's again, Madhusudana Saraswati has that beautiful way of imagining and explaining things which makes it so beautiful. Why is he saying Kaunteya here? And just ask yourself, Kunti is the aunt of Lord Krishna and Arjuna is cousin. So he's immediately addressing Miss Kaunteya, saying, no, I am Ishvara, but don't forget that you are non-different from me. We are related. We are kind of linked to each other. So Bhagavan, through Arjuna, is telling all of us, don't forget, you're related to me. Don't feel depressed. Where is corona? No corona. I mean, we are one and the same. I'm present in you. So don't lose heart. So he's giving that compassionate love, that grace. So he's kind of reassuring him. Hoe kunteya. Tadrupe mai sarva apaha prota ityartha. And therefore, all the water that you see are kind of not all the time related with me. Evang sarveshu paryayeshu vakhyatavyam. And therefore, you can go to explain fire and air, right? So sparsha tanamatra is ever present in air wherever you go, and rupa tanmatra is in fire, and sabda tanmatra in akasha, and gandha tanmatra in prithvi. Iyam vibhuti adhyanayo upadishyate iti na ativa abhinivishtavyam. But at the same time, Madhusudana Saraswati is anxious whether my young students who are a little innocent, will they take it too seriously that actually Bhagavan is in Gandha Tanamatra? Then they will, while doing chalu in the water, he'll say, "Oh, there is Brahman, God here." Of course, God is everywhere, but then they'll get too obsessed with it. He's saying, "Don't get obsessed with it." My purpose of having said this, the purpose of Bhagavan having stated this in this sloka, is for meditation. So you see the presence of Lord in everything that you are passing through. You are passing through Panchabhutas. And as five Tanamatras, the Lord is saying, I'm spread across. I'm permeating everything. So that the devotee, the aspirant, is able to meditate on the divine, but he has a longer journey. Why? He's a Vedanti. So what does it mean? Because he cannot be only satisfied with puja and upasana. He wants to hit the target, the jackpot. And what is that jackpot? The truth. What is that truth? The non-difference between Jiva and Brahman. Everything is absolute Brahman, which appears in different names and forms. That ultimate truth he has to reach. So he is doing a lot of meditations to purify his consciousness, to flush out all impurities, but he has a long journey to undertake. So Madhusudana Saraswati says, don't get too stuck with these meditations. These are intermediate level sadhanas that you have to do when you are undertaking your long journey where to yourself. There's a beautiful joke, as I was mentioning, that one Vedanti sort of buys Google Maps because he has to undertake a journey to self-realization, and ultimately finds what? Actually, the destination is where he's standing. That is himself. So it's a long journey, starts with your mental self and ends with your paramarthika self, which is non-different from the Brahman. It's a long journey. It's a journey from oneself to the oneself. The oneself with the small s to oneself with the large S, absolute self. And that absolute self is non-different from the universal self. And therefore, that's a long journey. From here to everywhere, within yourself. And when you reach that stage, journey is over. That's what Vedanta says. And it's a beautiful imagination of the spiritual sadhana. Statha prabhava akasaha Sasi Suryayor Aham Asmi. So therefore, I am the luminosity of the sun and the moon. Prakasa Samanya Rupe Mai Sasi Suryo Proto Ityartha. So that Prabha Samanya Rupa, if you look at that principle of luminosity, the Rupa, that appearance, that principle of appearance, the principle of luminosity is what? To relate the sun and the moon with me, they entwined with me. Tatha pranava omkaraha sarva vedesu anusyuto aham. And therefore, I am present everywhere in the Vedas in the form of Om. Any page you open, you will find an Om over there. I am there. Aham. Tad yatha, and he's quoting from Chandogya Upanishad, chapter 223, 3, 223, 3. Tad yatha sankona sarvani pannani santranani evam omkarena sarva vak. Santurna Onkara Evedam Sarvam. This is what is taken from Chandogya Upanishad. Jatha Sankuna. Have you seen a leaf? You pick up any leaf. If you pick up a banyan tree's leaf, or those Aswastha leaf, Asoka Vriksha leaf, the botany students do that. Children used to do that, right? You pick up a leaf and you put it in a book, and after one year it completely dries up. Then it falls off the green part, they become dust and they fall off, and you only have the frame. In the frame you see so many threads, right? That is what was holding it together. And you can see that whole thing, the framework of how it is held together. Now these sankus, these threads, these nerves that sort of connect this whole leaf, they're spread all over the leaf. There's no point of the leaf where they are not there. He is referring to Brahman and its ever-present nature by giving Sanku as an example. But don't confuse the Brahman with Sanku. Sanku is a material thing. Brahman is non-material. It appears as material, because that is what Vivartavada is all about. It's the inverse projection of something. What it is not, it looks like that. Okay, it's not a, because then it will become savayava with a body. The moment it has a body, a physical self, then it cannot be niravayava. Then it cannot be desa, kala, vastu, paricheda, sunya. It cannot be that. Because once it has a body, you can split it into two and all problems start. The Brahman can become many paths. No, we don't accept it. So what he's saying is that the sankuna, yatha, tad yatha sankuna sarvani pannani, all the leaves are kind of pervaded by that santanani, grathitani. They kind of stitched together. Somebody has knitted it. Grathitani, santrinani, evam omkarena sarvava. Omkar is the one which sort of is permeating all that is said, all that is back means all the Vedas, and how Santanna, Omkara eva idam sarvam. All that you hear is Omkara. And then there is a good example. There is a Savda Samanya and there is a Vishesa Savda. So I am saying so many words A, B, C, D, like all these alphabets are there. What is common to all these alphabets? Savda Tanamantra. Sound. That is common. So you can have verbal sound, which I'm speaking. Yeah, I just clap. This is also sound. This is a non-verbal sound, right? And then we attribute meaning. Clapping means I'm encouraging you. A slap, the sound means sort of you're expressing your displeasure. So what is pervading all that is said? Music or drum, good music, bad music, cacophony, symphony, whatever. What is common to all of this? Savda Tanamatra. That Onkara similarly is the mother of everything that is said. Why? Because that word kind of sums up the Jagrat, Swapna, and Susupti Avastha, and that is the whole universe that we study in Mandukya Upanishad. Then Onkara is Santanani. Santana, how? Onkara eva idam sarvam. Everything that you see is Onkara eva. Because there is nothing else that you cannot put into this framework of Jagrat, Swapna, and Susupti. Right? And Bhashyakara says this, Onkara. So whatever you see, okay, vidyamananang sarvesam api, right, akhyaranam vyapakaha. So whatever is written, all the letters that are there, what is, there is a vyapaka and there is vyapya. Wherever there is smoke, there is fire. That means fire can be in other places. Like, for example, a hot iron ball. There is fire there. There is no smoke. So fire is everywhere, but in some places there will be a correlationship, concomitance between fire and smoke. So there is smoke associated fire in some cases. The moment there is smoke, there has to be fire. You cannot have smoke without fire. Yatra dhumaha tatra banni. But yatra banni tatra dhuma you cannot say. Reverse is not true in logic. Wherever there is fire, there is smoke. Wherever there is smoke, there is fire. Wherever there is smoke, is there fire? No, not in all cases. Why? A hot iron rod, which is red, which can burn, has no smoke, but there is fire in it, and therefore you can have fire. So that is called vyapaka. So vyapaka is, how do you understand it in Nyaya? It's called adhika desa vritti samparna. So it is in more space. Adhika desa vritti. So that vyapya is alpa desa vritti. So that is how it's explained. Okay, larger set is vyapaka. Smaller set is vyapya. It's very easy to understand mathematically, right? You have a large circle called vyapaka. Smaller circle, which is kind of superimposed on that large circle, is the vyapya. In vyapya, wherever you go, if x is such that x belongs to y, x is a smaller subset, y is a larger subset or universal set, that x is there in the middle. In any point of x, if you go, won't you find y? Of course you would find, because the x is actually kind of inside the y. You cannot think about an x without y. Similarly, now the x is a human being. Will you not find y? Y is the Brahman. Of course you'll find it. Now we'll go to the subset of animals. Brahman is there? Yes, universal set. It will be there. So that is vyapaka, adhika desa vritti, and vyapya, sarva vyapya, that Brahman is everywhere. That is the universal set. And you have small circles, animal world, material world, in qualities, and water, and fire, and all that. These are all tiny small sets within the universal set. And what is that universal set? Brahman. That is easiness, the adhisthana. That is how he's explaining, and it's very beautiful. Okay? तथा प्रणव ओंकारः सर्ववेदेषु अनुस्यूत अहम तद्यथा संकुना सर्वाणि पन्नानि संतृणानि एवं ओंकारेण सर्वा वाक् इति श्रुतेः संतृणानि means what? ग्रथितानि सर्वा वाक् सर्वे वेद एव इत्यर्थः. What is the meaning of वाक्? He is referring to Veda. Please understand this. Sabdah punyah tanmatra rupah. Because you see, sabda can also become cacophony, right? It can be music, it may be sweet, it may not be, it may be harsh. No, we are not referring to visishta sabda. We are referring to sabda samanya. That is all pervading in all forms of sound. Similarly, Brahman is everywhere. And it is sanamatra padartha, asti matra padartha. Whatever is, this is there. Whatever is because of this isness. Asti bhati rupa Brahman. That is what they are saying. Sabdah punya tanmatra rupah khe akase anushita aham. I am there. Paurusham, purushatva samanyam. Paurusham is purushasya bhava, the essential quality that defines a person as a human being. That humanness is me. Look at the beauty of the imagination. Everything comes out of the Lord of the universe. So here, we are not thinking here about our ruler, king-like God sitting at the top controlling all of us. Rather, and so that you have to pray him 2 times or 3 times and you are happy. No. Just be aware of his presence. Because we are here because he's here. We cannot be here without him being here. And he or she being here. And what is that he or she? That is our essential nature. That is what Bhagavan says. Without me, you are not there. That's what. And it's very beautiful. And he's saying, Paurusham, Purushvatva Samanyam Nushu, Purusheshu, Yat Anushitam, Tat Aham. I am that, my boy. So you're not there without me. And that's why he says, Kaunteya, don't forget you're my cousin. We kind of related. So you are not on divine. Don't think you are a sinner. I'm going to clean your sins and stuff like that. These are all imagined. You purify your consciousness, you are no more a sinner. Samanya rupe mai sarve vishesaha protaha. So I am that samanya rupa, that simple presence. The names and forms, look at the Vedantic imagination. The names and forms are visishtas, specific features, specific appearances, specific names, forms, qualities, storylines. They are all pervaded by me. As what? Me as Samanya Rupa. That Samanya Rupe. Rupa here is not that Prabhar Swarupa of fire. Rupa here is Dharma. I am the Samanya Dharma. And what is that Samanya Dharma? Rupa is not appearance here. Rupa is Dharma. And what is that Dharma? That Asti Bhati Rupa. That is the basic Dharma of Brahman. It's all pervading. Mai sarve vishesaha protaha. Shruti dundhibyadi drushtantehi iti sarvatra drashtavyam. So, for example, beating of drums, okay, playing of a piano, or playing of a harmonium, or playing of a violin. Beautiful sounds, aren't they? Then you have that you sort of bring a bass guitarist and completely different music. But they are all pervaded by what? Sabda Samanya. Same way, everything is pervaded by me. And then he sort of takes it to the next verse, which is beautiful. We may not have time to complete the commentary on it, but we will make sense of that verse and we will take it forward tomorrow. Punyo Gandha Prithivyancha, because he had left out that. Punyo Gandha Prithivyancha Tejasmi Tejastasmi Vibhavasau Jivanam Sarva Bhuteshu Tapaschasmi Tapasvishu. He extends that storyline. And he's saying what? That Gandha Samanya, that smell, Gandhavati Prithvi, that Prithvi, Gandhavatvam, So Prithvi iterevyo vidyate Gandhavatvat. So Prithvi is different from all other four material elements because it has the quality called smell, the Nyayaka says. Okay? Others have rasa, Fire has rupa, Vayu has sparsa, Akash has sabda. Only Prithvi has gandha, which they don't have. Okay, actually Prithvi has many other qualities. So if you go up one quality comes down. Okay, Prithvi also has rupa, Prithvi also has rasha, and Prithvi also has sparsa. Okay, and it has all these qualities. Whereas if you go to Vayu, then it doesn't have the rasa, it doesn't have gandha, it doesn't have rupa. It only has two things. It has Vayu can have sabda and Vayu can have sparsha. If you go to akasa, that sabda, it only has sabda quality. It doesn't have other qualities of the other elements. We will discuss that sometime. So punyo gandha prithivyang. So of Prithvi, I am that smell. That is samanya rupa, samanya dharma. I am that samanya dharma. Tejas chasmi vibhavaso. And he had already mentioned Prabha of Sasya and Surya. He's kind of repeating it because we are dull minded. Tejaha, I am that Teja, that Rupa, that quality of what? Vibhavaso. What is that word Vibhavaso? Vibhavaso, Saptami Vibhakti, that Vibhavasu. Vibhavasu is what? Vibha means Prabha. Vibha, Prabha eva Vasu. Samriddhi Jasya Saha. Vibhavasu. That is fire. So I am the Teja, I am that heat, I am that appearance, that luminosity of fire. Jivanam Sarva Bhuteshu, I am the life, that lifeline, I am that life factor. Everything that you see in Sarva Bhuta with animals or human beings, the birds, the insects, viruses, bacteria, whatever, they're provided by one principle called life. What is that? It's me, right? So I'm kind of providing all of them as a simple principle called life. Tapas chasmi tapasvishya, and those who are kind of doing meditations, because he mentioned about the jivan, about prana kriya, then people who are kind of technologically manipulating the prana sakti to ascend in the level of consciousness. These are the tapasvis, the meditators, the yogis. I am that yoga, I am that tapas, the fire of yoga in all these tapasvis. That is what Bhagavan says. And we have just about crossed the time limit. We started a little late. We stopped here and we'll do both the commentaries tomorrow. Any questions you can ask.